Yes, we're going to work on some hip work and start off nicely to open things up. So we're going to work to begin with in a warrior position. So we're going to go into a long arm plank. And then from that position, you're going to runner's hurdle. You bring your hand up. And then from this position, keeping your pelvis nice and controlled, you're going to open up to one side. And then you're going to bring your hand down again. And then open up to the other side. And that's going to be one rep of your twisted warrior. Get the hips nice and opened up. We're now going to look into really making sure that the hips are firing, the glutes are firing as well. So we're going to go into a frog, raised frog bridge. So you're going to lie on your back on the mat. We're going to then turn our feet to face one another, comme ça, and you're going to then lift yourself up, squeeze by squeezing your glutes to get up the top there. You should really feel your glutes firing nicely to bring yourself up the top. Thank you very much. So now we look at the pigeon extension. So we know the pigeon stretch and stretching out our glutes, so we're going to get into the pigeon stretch position there. So the rear leg is trailing backwards, the front leg's underneath our torso. We're looking here no matter how flexible you are. I'm not looking at trying to get nice and low, it's more about getting the control through that hip. So we're going to curl our toes underneath on the rear leg, good. And then you're going to engage your glutes and lift yourself up, lift your knee up, good, and put yourself into an extension position of the back. So making sure you're actually extending through that back position just there, and then down again. Make sure you're holding the control through the glutes, even on the way down, not just on the way up. So we're going to get into our donkey doze position, so go onto all fours. We're going to make sure our shoulders and our hips are nicely set. We're going to lift ourselves up off our knees, and then we're going to make sure our glutes engaged, and we're going to lift up with one foot. There we go. And then we're going to move our foot outwards by keeping the hips nice and still, and then across here again, keeping the hips nice and still. So that should remain very still, and the knee should remain as still as possible as well. So the rotation is happening all the way through the foot. So I'm going to grab this foot here, so it's always from that position there, the knee staying still, it's out that way, and then there, and then out this way. The knee's going to try and stay as controlled as you possibly can make it. To make sure our hips are nicely mobilised as well, we use some dynamic stretching, warm-ups like opening and closing the gate. So with this we're looking at opening and moving our glutes, our hips around a little bit, and having good control here as well. So it's the same thing, we're going to lift our knee up to the front, and then we're going to rotate the hips out the sides, and then round, and then down. So kind of going through the full range of motion of the hips. Nice. And then do the same as well for the other side, the other leg. Okay, now we're going to look at butt scoots. So what we're looking at here is going to have our hands out in front of ourselves, setting our shoulders nicely. We're then going to look at lifting our leg forwards and moving our hips forward as well each time, and slowly making our way forwards along the mat. Think about lifting up through your hips rather than lifting and dragging with your foot. Again, to make sure we're getting a bit of drive coming through and the hip flexors are actually working and activated as well, we're going to use an anchored band. And this I'm going to put over here because the desk isn't quite light enough, but if you put it around something a little bit heavier or a post, you can do this, or again use a lighter band. So what you're going to do is you're going to come over this thing, loop it in through your foot. Make sure you put it down towards your ankle, and then you're going to stabilise on the opposite leg and drive this knee up there. You should feel it kind of pulling through not necessarily pulling badly, but kind of working through your hip flexors, and as you drive that foot up, making sure you're squeezing the other glute at the same time at the top. We're going to look at a star squat. So with this, we're going to take ourselves and set ourselves up, hands on the hips, and go into a single leg squat position. This slightly softened knee, and we're going to make sure we're not dipping through. We can stay remaining strong and high with the control through the pelvis. We're then going to go and imagine there's a clock face in front of us, and try and touch all the different numbers on the clock with one hand, with one foot. And then once you've done that, you move on to the other side, and carry on around the clock face. Again, making sure you're controlling through the hips, and that if you are bending your knee tracking nicely over your second toe. Now we'll look at a bit of hip flexion in a supine position. So we're going to take our Swiss ball. If you haven't got a Swiss ball, you can get a couple of cushions, but ideally something around about knee height would be perfect. We're going to lie with the Swiss ball on our back, and our knees are going to be bent. And then from this position, we're going to make sure our hips and our shoulders are in the same alignment. We're going to control through the core. We're going to lift the weight off one foot and raise the one leg. Keeping ourselves nice and stable and controlling that position. Hold it for a few seconds and then go back down again. Then alternate the other side. Again, we're making sure that the hips themselves, they're staying high, but you're also not rotating around either side as well. We're going to look now at a plank with a hip extension, so we're going to try to get these glutes firing, working as well in extension. So we're going to go to normal plank position, and then from this plank position, you can be on your elbows or on your hands, we're just going to make sure we're keeping our shoulders and our hips together nicely aligned, and we're just going to lift up one of those legs. We're going to do so by firing the glute and not lifting the hamstring. So really make sure that's the glute which is firing and not the hamstring. There, good, very, very good. Keeping the hips nice and controlled in the same place, so your pelvis isn't moving, it's just going to be lifting the foot off the ground. Now we're going to look into a banded hip twist. So if you've got an anchor to put this onto, fantastic. If you haven't, you have to beg, borrow and steal a friend who will be able to do this for you. You can just put this around your fingers and then put this onto your waist like this and get the other person to hold it. They're going to face you, and they're going to have the loaded leg, one leg closest to you, so the other one's further back. You're then going to rotate your hips away, and then you're going to rotate your hips back in again as far as they'll go, taking the tension, and then back. Have a slightly soft knee in this one there, and again this is making sure you're just connecting the stability all the way through the hips, and you're allowing the hip then to have control and rotation, so when you're running, you've still got that control around the limb as it swings through the recovery phase. We're going to look at the aeroplane exercise here as well. So we're going to go into a tabletop position, so standing on one leg with slightly flexed knee, controlling through that hip again. We're going to imagine that there is a broom going from our shoulders all the way down through to our tailbone, and we're going to move with our shoulders going forwards, hinging at the hips, the back leg and the hips remain the same. We're then going to open our hips up, close them again, and then come back up to the standing position, driving through with that opposite leg, with the loaded leg. So when you're coming through from here into that position there, it's not just about getting to this position, it's about driving all the way through and really driving with that leg as you go through.